All right, let's go to your edge 4 here, Sam. You've got Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, Mike Green, and now edge 4.
Donovan Ezeiruaku from Boston College. I really thought about putting him number 2. I really thought about putting Ezeiruaku as the second best player or the second best edge defender in this draft. He might have the best pass rushing ability outside of Abdul Carter. He's quick, he's agile, he's got moves, he's got athleticism. He had Florida State's offensive tackle in an absolute blender in week 1. Like, just watch that tape. It kind of set the stage for what he was going to do for the rest of the season. It's like, this dude is just absolutely annihilating this guy. He's got a really nice cross chop move, gets him to the corner a lot. Like, it frees him up and gets him around the edge of an offensive tackle a ton. But he's also like, he can win with hands without speed. He can win with push-pull moves, with power, with these inside swim moves. His inside counter is really nice. And there's a few guys in this draft where they've got quite a nice inside counter move, but they don't earn it enough. Like, so I think Dwight Freeney's the best example I can think of really ever of the balance of one and the other. Everyone sort of thinks, when you think what was Dwight Freeney's like superpower, it was that inside spin where even at like the age of 35 or whatever, he's still cooking Andrew Whitworth. You know, as Arizona Cardinals legend, Dwight Freeney is barbecuing Andrew Whitworth with this inside spin. But the reason that inside spin was so devastating is because he earned it with his speed rush around the outside, 10 times already. It's like, man, I'm so scared of his speed around the edge because he's low to the ground. He's fast. He's explosive. He can turn the corner. So we start to overset and boom, the spin hits you and you're dead, right? But so many players can't do the first part. It's like, well, my inside move's nice, but like they don't respect the outside, so it's less effective. Ezeiruaku wins with the outside a lot, and so his inside counter is devastating because you are terrified by his outside speed as well, and now he's threatening both sides of your set. So man, I loved him as a pass rusher.
You mentioned the Florida State game. Go watch Pittsburgh too at the end of the season. 15 pressures, including pressures that were negated. 15. The poor Pittsburgh offensive line had no chance at him. There's some Latu to him, I think, where he's maybe the most technical, best all-around skill set as a pass rusher in this draft. That's how we described Latu last year. Not the best athlete, not the best this or the best that, just the best rusher. Ezeiruaku might be that guy as far as just pure skill, right, Sam? Would you agree?
Yeah, but I mean, this was sort of tricky because Latu's workouts ended up being a lot better than people expected them to be. But I feel like Ezeiruaku was a better athlete than Latu was, or he at least feels like a better athlete, more explosive. Like his workout numbers, his change of direction stuff in particular is really, really good. Like extremely high percentiles, elite numbers for those. Basically, everything was above average or better, but the change of direction stuff in particular was like was elite type of information. So I think you're right that he might be the most technically proficient or developed of any of the pass rushers, but I also feel like he's got athletic juice to him as well. That's why, again, thought about putting him too.
Yeah, the difference is that Ezeiruaku's got crazy bend, flexibility. I don't think Latu had that necessarily. I'm just saying from a pure full tool belt, maybe. The one thing I think he lacks, though, is power. And didn't win enough with power. There is one on Pittsburgh where he knocks the right tackle down, but right tackle gets tripped. You always have to see if they get tripped. He doesn't win with power as much, and I think that would be one of the concerns with Ezeiruaku, unless you saw something different.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely not the strength of his game, but I don't think it's a weakness. Like, I actually think there was more pop in his punch than I was expecting to see.
By the way, he showed it. He showed it in the run game. I think he showed that power in the run game more than as a pass rusher. So I think he also has it in him.
Right. And I think so where it shows up, I think, is, there are times where it's like, look, so much of rushing the passer, it feels like just an athleticism exchange. But ultimately, like pretty much every pass rusher is less strong than the offensive tackle trying to block them, right? Generally. Almost all of them, like they're outweighed by like 100 pounds. generally speaking, you're not going to be as strong as that guy. So if it's an equal competition, if it's just inertia, if it's my body against his body, he's going to win because he's bigger and stronger than I am. So almost always, in order to look more powerful, you need an advantage in technique or the fact that you get a running start or whatever. So there are plays where he ends up basically trying to match strength with an offensive tackle, and he definitely just doesn't have the sand in his pants to do that at 248 pounds or whatever. And if an offensive tackle can like get into him and lean on him, it's over. Like he can just fold him, right? But if it's like a hand battle, if it's a punch, if he gets in first, if he's able to get the guy off his chest, I think he's got pop in that punch and he can win with power that way. I just think he doesn't need to do that very often because his quickness is devastating. His technique is devastating. The number of times where he just needs to power through a guy, it's just not his go-to. It's not what he's ever going to go to. But I thought that strength showed up. And I think some of his deficiencies in the run game, like I thought his awareness was a bigger problem than his power and his lack of strength and, ability to hold the edge. I just think sometimes, a little bit like Abdul Carter early in the season, it was a sort of awareness thing about what's the run concept I'm looking at here. And then by the time he's figured that out, he's already like behind the 8 ball and getting driven away.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now. Yeah. So look, here's the deal, Sam. The guys that you put at 2 and 3, by the way, I have Ezeiruaku at 5, so I'm close here with you. Mike Green and then James. Well, my 2 and 3, Mike Green and James Pierce, who we'll talk about, I should say. They have enough questions that Ezeiruaku could be edge 3 off the board, right? I mean, it could be Abdul Carter, Jalon Walker, and then Ezeiruaku as the third edge off the board. I've heard when you start to see some of the buzz around the NFL, Daniel Jeremiah put out a tweet just yesterday or sometime this week about, hey, the league's higher or low, all over the place on these few players. Ezeiruaku is one of the names that came up. You also hear a lot of people say, hey, this Ezeiruaku is going to go a lot higher than people think, right? So you're kind of getting both of these reports. And if you are, so say, just hear me out for a second here. Panthers at 8, Saints at 9. If you're saying, hey, we need an edge rusher in this class, we're going to take advantage of the depth of the edge rush class, and you say we're not going to deal with the Mike Green stuff, we're not going to deal with James Pierce, well, maybe Jalon Walker's in the mix, maybe Ezeiruaku's the next guy in the mix, because he's the cleanest. And I talked to someone at BC because I texted a lot of people about Ezeiruaku because he just kept popping week 1 against Florida State throughout the year. I'm like, this dude can play. Every time I watched him, I'm like, this guy could just play football. Friend from BC said, yeah, high football IQ. I mean, so I think he's going to go the other way, tick a lot of the off-field boxes, plays the game well. The biggest question mark is going to be, I think, maybe his size. Does he have enough power, compared to some others? I think that's going to be the question, but I think he's pretty clean in a lot of other areas.
Same. And look, you said he could be the third. I don't think it would be crazy to see Ezeiruaku taken as a second edge rusher in this draft. I don't think it'll happen, but we're going to talk about the red flag, the thing that's scary about every one of these other guys. Yeah. And if it doesn't have to be one team just like the one team at the top that's going to be picking the edge rusher. It just needs to be like, I don't like any of these red flags. Give me the guy that doesn't have the red flags that we have ranked in a similar place. Again, I don't think it'll happen, but if Ezeiruaku was the second edge rusher off the board in this draft, I would not be remotely shocked.
He's another wild card, man. He's another wild card. And I made this point the other day. We end up defining a player by where they got drafted. This guy was 8. This guy was 42. The difference sometimes is what one team decides or what another, if this guy's available, we'll take him at 10, but, he's not available, so forget it, whatever. If he did go in the top 10, I actually wouldn't be all that surprised, right? If he went late first, if he went to the Eagles with the last pick, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd be saying how he does it again, right? So, I could see things being all over the place, but I really like him as a player, and I can see the thought process that eliminates some of the guys that we have ranked higher and says, this guy's cleaner. He's cleaner than Jalon Walker as a rusher. He's already he already has the full skill set that we're kind of hoping Jalon Walker gets to at some point. I could see that thought process maybe in the building somewhere.
Yeah, like every time it comes up in a mock draft, we have Carolina taking an edge rusher at 8. If Carolina doesn't like Jalon Walker, if Carolina is scared by Mike Green's off-field issues, if they're scared by James Pierce Jr., like I can easily see you coming to the conclusion, if you're Carolina, that Ezeiruaku is the cleanest pass rusher available at 8 and drafting him there. I don't think it would be nuts. Again, don't think it'll happen, but I would like that pick if they made it. If we're sitting here on draft night, that's the pick at 8. You're going to have a ton of people being like, wow, what a reach. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. I have no problem with it. I think he's worth that.
I mean, especially one of the guys that's not in our top 5, Shamar Stewart. And, we weigh the differences between Ezeiruaku and Shamar Stewart. Again, you're hoping Shamar Stewart can learn the stuff that Ezeiruaku's doing right now. And you're banking on his doing it with 50 more pounds, by the way, and his athleticism, the theoretical upside versus say the more technician that you're going to potentially draft in Ezeiruaku right now.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.